Hello, everyone. As part of our ongoing series and efforts to help you all deal with employee speech as well as organizational speech in I think everybody can agree is a particularly tense environment in many different ways, and an environment where employers are confronting disagreements among our society that sort of become microcosms or can be repeated in a microcosm in your own workplace. And so there's no perfect answer to this, no perfect way to address it or give you advice on how to address every type of employee speech that you may want to, or when to make a statement as an employer. But we wanted to sort of give you some divisions, some context, some ways, some constructs around how to think about these issues. The first one that is going to affect almost every employer in one way or another is whether or not you're a public or a private employer. On the public employer side, we obviously have First Amendment issues to deal with. On the private employer side, we have similar issues in the form of contracts and policies that you've entered into or enacted that are going to restrain your ability to respond, particularly to employee speech, or maybe even in some instances make statements of your own as an employer. And that is the second sort of construct around this that we want to talk about, is organizational speech versus employee speech. When it is organizational speech, it should be clear that that is what is happening, that when an individual is speaking, they're speaking on behalf of the employer or the organization. That should generally be approved at high levels throughout whatever the appropriate governance structure is of the organization. When it's employee speech, the first question we often look at is it purely private, or is it somehow related to the employee's job functions? Is it going to reflect directly on the employer or indirectly through the employee's association with the employer as an employee? And we're going to respond often much more vigorously to employee speech that is made as an employee rather than employee speech made as a private individual that may nevertheless affect that individual's ability to do their job, or may reflect on the organization, their employer. We did talk briefly about the differences between student speech, responding to student speech in the educational context, or employee speech. Generally, employers, whether they be educational employers or not, have much more leeway in responding to employee speech than they do to responding to student speech. Student speech responses are often highly constrained by procedures, things like student handbooks. In the case of public institutions, certainly going to be restrained in many ways by the First Amendment. And then finally, we just wanted to provide some sort of lessons learned through collective experience working in this area. We want to encourage employers to take sort of a long view on many of these issues and not respond to whatever happens to be the tensest or most heated issue that's in the news today. You want to take sort of a long approach. The best way to do that is to focus on your own mission and values as an organization, and how particular issues impact your organization, your community, your constituencies. When you have sort of a nexus of those two things, where you have things that are impacting your organization or your community or your constituencies, and they speak directly to your values and your mission as an organization, then it may be appropriate, certainly, to take more forceful action when employees are interfering with your ability to interact with those issues in a way that's consistent with your mission, or responding to or making statements on behalf of the organization itself.